Hello everyone out there in the global and digital world. Sending blessings and good vibes to everyone. My name is Nikola and this is SpiritX channel. So here is what I would like to accomplish in the next few videos. So we all agree that we live in peculiar times in a modern day era, and then we all agree that spiritual practice is the kind of fundamental for our spiritual life. So in the next 3 videos, I would like to talk about how to organize spiritual practice. So there'll be 3 parts, and this is part number 1. And here is the rationale behind it. So I defined spiritual practice as a movement or a journey from identifying with our ego or separate self towards resting as and realizing and rediscovering our true self. So a journey from ego identification to rediscovery of our true nature or true self. Our true self or true nature is timeless and spaceless. It's infinite and eternal, but the journey happens in time and space. So in that regard, today I would like to talk how to organize your spiritual practice in terms of time. And here is how we're going to do it. We are going to divide the time on days, weeks, months, and years. And we will see in terms of spiritual practice, what can you do daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. So that way you have a robust spiritual practice to carry you to the rediscovery of your true self and the life of peace, abundance, joy, and inspirational service. So we start with the daily practice, and I cannot stress enough how important daily practice is. If you're serious about your spiritual growth, if you define yourself as a spiritual practitioner, it's really the key to do the daily practice. However, in the modern day setting, there are several challenges there that I myself faced and then I hear all the time when I work with individuals in groups. And those 2 challenges are, first, I don't have time for practice, daily practice, and second, I don't have enough time. And I'll be straightforward for you. I'm here to tell you that you can be awakened and busy in the world. And I'm also here to tell you that on a spiritual path, we cannot pay attention to all of our thoughts. And we need to ignore some of our thoughts because they're simply not true. So whenever the thought about I don't have time to practice, I don't have enough time to practice, pops up, rather than entertaining that thought and rather than going downward spiral into the victim mentality, instead of entertaining those thoughts, you just practice. So instead of being in despair that you don't have time to practice, in that moment you start practicing. Another thing that I want to share with you from my own journey and from journey of thousands of others is that actually short practice during busy life really works. So we often think that we need some long periods of time, daily, weekly, and yearly, for spiritual practice to work. That's true to an extent, but the other avenue is equally effective. So short, effective glimpses of deeper dimension, if done repeatedly, are equally good as long period of times. Let's say vipassana meditation, silent retreats, and stuff like that. So in other words, if you have half an hour a day devoted to spiritual practice, that's fine. If you have 2 sets of time, 20 minutes, that's time. If you have 45 minutes, great. If you don't have 20 minutes, do 10 minutes. Do 3 times 10 minutes of conscious breathing, and that's enough for that day. So short glimpses of practice are actually enough to create a great spiritual life. I'm an example, and many people who work with me did that. So it's very possible to be awakened in the modern day world, in spite of its busyness and complexity. So when it comes to daily practice, the key is simply do it. And don't allow your mind and ego to trick you into victim mentality, how in the modern day world it's impossible to practice. So that was daily practice in terms of time. So what about weekly? Weekly practice is as important as daily practice. So with weekly practice would be great if you have some group or some qualified teacher in your area to do some weekly practice, meditation, yoga, satsang, kirtan, tai chi, etc. So qualified person to guide you helps tremendously, and supporting group and supportive group helps tremendously. There is another thing that I suggest when it comes to weekly practice that did literally miracles for me and for many others who work with me, and that's what I call body, mind, spirit cross practice. I'll devote a separate video to this, but the philosophy behind that is simple. If we really want to spiritually grow or grow in general, it's very important that we address the fundamentals of our whole being, and we are composed of body, mind, and spirit. So if on your spiritual journey you address body, mind, and spirit rather than spirit only, your growth is going to be fuller and faster, and the whole journey is going to be better, more smooth, and you'll have better results. So for weekly practice, if you can work with some qualified peoples in Sangha, that's fantastic. And body, mind, spirit cross training is something I really suggest. So that takes us to a monthly level of your practice. Once you get daily and weekly practice, that's pretty much it. And from here, just few touches. So few touches from, in terms of monthly practice, you can do an online seminar or a workshop. You can do a little bit of travel in your area for a one-day event, retreat or workshops or something like that, and that will do it. This is a time to include virtual spaces too. When it comes to yearly practice, there is one fundamental ingredient that I suggest strongly, and that is doing retreats at least once a year. So 3 to 10 days, 2 weeks retreat with a qualified teacher and qualified Sangha in a great natural setting. From my standpoint, as both spiritual practitioner and teacher, retreats are probably the best container for practice, and I strongly recommend it. I know they're expensive. I also know that we live in a post-corona world when a lot of people are hesitant to do it, but I'm just sharing with you as a friend that retreats are amazing as a spiritual practitioner, as a spiritual teacher, and if you're serious about your spiritual life, you should put it on the agenda. I'll devote another special video to spiritual retreats, but in a nutshell, what happens there is you leave your daily karma, and some deep work can be done in the setting with the right leader or a teacher or facilitator, in the right human container and in the right natural container. Then you integrate all of that and you come back home to your daily karma pretty much transformed if the retreat was successful. So retreats are enormously beneficial. One more thing that you can do on a yearly basis, what I call pilgrimage, meaning going to some spiritual or natural sites that put you in a contemplative mode or evoke spiritual frequency, depending on where you are nationally and globally. There are always national parks or ashrams, temples, cathedrals, etc. And it's good to have a trip with that intention. Or if you are, let's say, going to visit family somewhere, just check out, are there any spiritual and natural sites that you can utilize spiritually, and that will do it. The key for spiritual practices in terms of time is to organize your daily and weekly practice. If you can do few retreats yearly, you'll see results would be really totally amazing. My next video is going to be about spiritual practice in terms of space, so please stay tuned. I hope this helps. Thanks for your attention, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.